Well, it's not every day of the week that one of my favorite bands drops a new album. So let's talk about the new Muse album, which dropped last week, Will of the People. It's their 9th studio release. Is it any good? Well, let's talk about it here briefly. Muse, for the uninitiated, was formed in 1994 in Devon, UK by Matt Bellamy, Chris Wolstenholme, and Dominic Howard. Yeah, they started out as a band called Gothic Plague. And then in short order, they changed their name to Rocket Baby Dolls, which I guess they were for a couple of years. They put out a couple of EPs. They changed their name to Muse because they liked how short the name was. It would look good on posters. Boy, that's a great strategy that Peter Banks employed when he named the band Yes. The shorter the name, the bigger the font, right? They put out a couple of EPs. They were shopping around. They got a management deal, but they were looking to get signed. They ended up signing with Madonna's label, Maverick, and their first album dropped in 1999. That was Showbiz, a good record. My introduction to Muse was a couple years after that. I was working with a guy, and he lent me the Hullabaloo CD, which came out after their second album, which had some B-sides on one disc and then a live performance on the other. I was completely blown away, so I went back and bought Showbiz and their second album, The Origin of Symmetry, which came out in 2001, and I was a fan. Origin of Symmetry really got me big time. The first album's good, but man, that second album was incredible. They followed it up with Absolution in 2006, Black Holes and Revelations in 2009. Yeah, every 3 years, right? 2012, Second Law. 2015 had Drones. 2018, Simulation Theory, and they broke that every 3-year cycle here. It's been 4 years since that album came out. We've got the 9th Muse album to look at here, The Will of the People. It was self-produced. They've used outside producers before, but they decided they wanted to do this all themselves, and there's pluses and minuses associated with that, which we'll get into. Their record label was asking them about a greatest hits album. I guess their contract says that at this point in their contract that they were due to put out a live album, or a greatest hits album rather, and they talked the label out of it. So they decided to do an album that kind of mirrors what a Muse greatest hits might be. So they took a look at their most popular tracks and kind of just aped them. None of these songs are super original. A lot of them have direct links to older Muse tracks, but this is fine. This is a really cool record. Is Muse Prog? Well, if you go back to my series, the 100 greatest prog bands of all time, I did have Muse in there. I ranked them at number 72. So at the end of this video, I'll post a link to that if you want to see what I had to say about them. But I'm really excited because I have not had a chance really to talk to you guys about Muse and my feelings about them. This new album is as good a time as any to start. Ever since Black Holes and Revelations and the album that came out after that, The Resistance, they've been really into this dystopian storytelling about these really dark futures and whatnot. And it was all great in the early 2000s. And, later on, you're in the Obama era, and it all felt real safe. And yeah, these guys really have something to say. But here we go with the pandemic and Trump and Brexit, and the world just seems like it's on fire right now. And these platitudes and these proselytizing lyrics of Matt Bellamy don't seem quite as cute anymore, because the reality of what he's been singing about is kind of here now. So it's an important record for these guys in terms of squaring the circle from that imagined future that they always talked about to something very real and tangible here. And he's getting a lot of heat for some mixed messages, and I concur with some of those viewpoints for sure. It's a little problematic, but we're going to get into a little bit about why that is. And it starts right off with the first song, the title track, The Will of the People. And the first thing you'll notice is, the will of the people, the will of the people. Woo! Oh, it's Marilyn Manson 2.0. I'm surprised he doesn't get a songwriting credit for this. And if you're starting out your record with a song that sounds exactly like a song written by an abuser, an alleged rapist, you might have some problems with people like me. I just don't even understand why you would go there. It's a bad look, but it's a pretty good song, actually. It combines beautiful people from Marilyn Manson with the Blue Cheer Summertime Blues. Smash those two together and maybe a little bit of Green Day on top of it, and you've got the title track down pretty pat. The next song is called Compliance, and it sounds a lot like it came right off of Simulation Theory. It's got that 80s synth pop kind of thing going on. It's a decent little song. It just repeats the same four chords over and over. D minor to G to B flat. It just over the same four chords over and over. It gets a little old. It's D minor, then C, then G, then B flat. That's the chord progression over and over and over. Yeah, the video, it shows these people lining up to take a pill, a blue pill or a red pill. Is Matt an anti-vaxxer? Is he against people getting vaccinated? It's a good question. I don't really know. The next song up is a little brief respite on piano called Liberation. Yeah, it's got the Queen breakdowns going on, but it's actually a really good song, good melody. I kind of like it. It really does set you up for the next song, which was also released as a single, and that's Won't Stand Down, and I really like this track. Yeah, it does sound a little like AWOL Nation, but it does bring back some of the old Muse romanticism, and it's really metallic-y sounding. I do like that track a lot. It's cool. And then it's followed by another piano ballad called Ghosts, where he's talking about lost relationships and tying that into the people that we had lost during the pandemic. It's moving, it's melodic, it's a cute little song. I do like it. The biggest surprise on this album, probably the track that's gonna, get people scratching their heads the most, is this thing called You Make Me Feel Like It's Halloween, complete with Dracula on organ and all this gothic kind of Halloween-y stuff. Matt Bellamy said he was thinking about doing a Christmas song, but that doesn't sound very Muse-like. Halloween's a little bit more their speed, and I really want to hate this thing because it makes me think of Fall Out Boy using the Munsters theme, but it's actually really cool. What it really does sound like is Ministry a little bit. I do like it. I guess Matt Bellamy had been reading a lot of Stephen King, so he used a lot of those imageries, and he name checks some of the great Stephen King books like Misery and The Shining in the song. It's actually good. Next up is a metalcore song called Kill or Be Killed. I really like this song. Again, it brings back the old Muse from like Origin of Symmetry or Absolution. Kind of reminds me of Hyper Music or Plug-in Baby or even Stockholm Syndrome. Maybe it's got a little bit of the gutsiness of that Drones album that came out in 2015, but it's a solid track. A lot of Muse fans have been wanting, that gutsier rock version of Muse to come back, and there it is, people. It's followed up by one of the best songs on the album, probably my favorite song on the album. It's called Verona. Yeah, it's about Romeo and Juliet, and they're kind of, playing around with the, can I kiss your poisoned lips? Yeah, that's making me think a whole lot about COVID-19. Take off your clothes, take off your mask. What is he, an anti-masker too? I mean, what's going on here, Matt? You're not really telling me how you feel. The world is on fire. We need you more than ever. And you give us platitudes about Romeo and Juliet, but the song is really good. It's got this great arpeggiated synth thing. And then the guitar comes in with a whole different counterpoint melody. It's atmospheric, and it does kind of make me think of U2 a little bit, but that's all right. About the separation of the world that we're living in right now. Maybe using Romeo and Juliet as your backdrop isn't the worst idea. You've got your Capulets and your Montagues. You've got your liberals and your conservatives. So, maybe he's thinking a little bit more deeply than we give him credit for, because the lyrics on this album overall come across a little banal and trite, but I don't mind if this is retreaded territory. It's Muse, for crying out loud, people. We love Muse. I love Muse. Next up, the penultimate track is Euphoria. This thing's got that up-tempo feel with those mechanical arpeggios that we've been missing in the last few Muse albums. It sounds a little like Take a Bow or Time is Running Out. And then it's got these weird Adrian Belew-like sounds on the guitar. That's really cool. And then Matt Bellamy busts out with that glorious falsetto of his. It's just really great. There's some really cool guitar work in the chorus. Lovely song. Really, really good. Ding, dong, darling. That's the winner right there. And then it follows up with We Are All Effing Effed. I'm not going to curse on this channel. You guys know how I am about that. It's actually a good song despite its terrible title. It starts out sounding a little like Pablo Honey era Radiohead, and I'm going to say this is the only time on this whole album where I'm making the connection to Thom Yorke, which is a big deal because a lot of the older Muse stuff did kind of cleave real close to Radiohead. Those days are long gone, people. We're hearing way more Queen these days than Radiohead. It's a cool song. It's like a mid-tempo indie kind of thing. It starts off, but then when the chorus hits, it's really cool. It's really powerful with the treated vocals. It's so catchy. It does make me think a little bit of, at the end riff kind of speeds up, makes me think of like if Metallica had been listening to the Knights of Sidonia off of the Black Holes and Revelations album. Maybe it sounded a little like that, and then boom, it's over. It's a short little track. We've been waiting for Matt Bellamy to weigh in on a lot of these issues, and it almost feels like he's dialing it in. So it is a bit lazy. Maybe we're expecting a little bit too much from these guys. After all, they are just a rock and roll band. And it's obvious that they're clearly not taking themselves too seriously on this album. That's appreciated because at the end of the day, if you take all the politics and the obvious lyrics out of the equation, Muse is nothing but a really good rock and roll band with a pretty serious 70s Jones, and I am okay with that. I am all about that. I liked the simulation theory. I liked drones, but honestly, hey, they have not done a rock solid album since Black Holes and Revelations, so I'm calling this the best album since then. The contradictions do bother me a little bit. Where is Matt actually sitting on some of these issues? The Marilyn Manson connection, just really icky. All this, mask and vax kind of controversy woven in is a little hard to take. But the album is cohesive. It really is. The Halloween song, notwithstanding, kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, even though I actually really like it. The album flows really well. There's a lot of cohesion to it. If Drones was their getting back to basics album and Simulation Theory was their Stranger Things album, I guess this is their Everything in the Kitchen Sink album. Like I said, they were supposed to be doing a greatest hits album. So this is like a greatest hits album, but with all new songs. And I really like it. My biggest complaint about the album is it is only 37 minutes long. I would have liked maybe to beef up some of the better songs, make them a little longer, or maybe throw in a couple more tracks, but I'm nitpicking. I really do like this album. I'm so happy to report that Muse is back with a real solid album. So how am I going to score this bad boy? How indeed. I'm giving it 3.5 headphones. That might sound a little skimpy, but if you translate that out into the 10-point scale, it is a 7 out of 10, and that actually sounds maybe a little high. So I'm sticking with 3.5 headphones. I like this album quite a bit. I hope you guys give it a listen, give Muse a chance. I find them to be very proggy. At moments, they're extremely proggy. In other moments, there's zero prog at all. But that's what I love about these guys. They don't care. They don't want to be pigeonholed. They just want to make great music. And they almost did with Will of the People. Anyway, that's my review of the new Muse album. I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I will see you soon. Peace.